I was 1 week away from submitting the research that could change my life. No backup, no spare laptop, just one chance, and one final document. Then, he shattered it. Not an accident, not a joke. And when I looked to my family for help, they laughed. That was the day I stopped waiting for justice and started building my own. I am Natalie Pierce, and exactly 7 days before I was supposed to submit the most important piece of research in my life, my only laptop, the one that held every spreadsheet, every draft, every sleepless night of work from the last 9 months, was shattered. Not by accident, not by fate, but by my cousin, Carter. It happened because I said no. No, I won't drive you to that concert tonight. No, I can't drop everything because you really need a ride. No, I can't be your backup plan when I'm holding on to the one shot I have at earning a full PhD scholarship. His eyes narrowed, his voice sharpened. Who even cares about that stupid project of yours? I didn't even have time to respond. I heard it before I saw it. A sharp, violent crack, the kind of sound that instantly makes your stomach drop, because you already know what just happened. I rushed out to the living room, heart hammering, and saw it. My laptop, my lifeline, split down the middle, the screen fractured like ice, keyboard half detached, and the body, bent in a way no object should ever bend. Carter stood over it, arms crossed, mouth curled. "Oops," he said. It slipped. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't speak. I dropped to my knees and stared, not just at the device, but at what it represented. Months of research, hundreds of hours of effort, gone in seconds. I turned to the only people I thought might help. My aunt and uncle, the ones who took me in, the ones who always said, "We're proud of you, Natalie." They didn't even flinch. My aunt laughed, actually laughed. "It's just a laptop, sweetheart. You're being dramatic." My uncle, still scrolling his phone, muttered, "Back in our day, we used pen and paper. Maybe you should have printed it." And Carter? He shrugged, smug. "Maybe don't act like the whole world revolves around you next time." The worst part wasn't the broken laptop. It was the broken belief that these people, my family, would be there when it really mattered. But in that moment, I saw it crystal clear. They weren't going to save me. They weren't even going to pretend to care, so I didn't scream. I didn't argue. I walked back to my room, closed the door, sat in the dark. My heart raced, my fists clenched, and rage settled deep in my bones. But with it came something else, a decision. This wouldn't be the end of my story. This wouldn't be the moment I gave up. This was going to be the beginning of something much, much bigger. They thought they shattered my laptop, but they had no idea what they'd just set in motion. I stared at the wreckage on the floor, the screen, now just spiderweb cracks of light, the keyboard, half hanging, the hard drive, shifted out of place like a dislocated joint. It wasn't just a broken machine, it was my future, my scholarship, my proof that I mattered. And I did what anyone would do. I turned to the people I thought loved me. Chew, he broke it." They didn't even get up. My aunt shook her head slowly, like I'd spilled juice on a carpet. "You're overreacting, Natalie. You shouldn't have said no to him. You know how Carter gets." My mouth went dry. "So it's my fault?" She shrugged. "Maybe if you weren't always so obsessed with school." Carter snorted, sitting back on the couch like royalty. "Guess you didn't really need that degree, huh?" I felt the back of my neck go cold, like I'd stepped into a house full of strangers wearing my family's faces. I didn't yell, didn't beg, didn't even ask why. Because deep down, I already knew. I had always been the outsider here, the smart one, the overachiever, the too serious girl they tolerated, until she became inconvenient. That day, I wasn't just left alone. I was made the villain of my own pain. So I stood up, walked to my room, and locked the door behind me. I didn't cry. I couldn't. Tears were a luxury I couldn't afford. Not when I only had 7 days. 7 days to rebuild my life, to somehow recreate months of work. From memory, from scraps, from nothing. And in that silence, I made 2 promises. 1, I would finish my research, no matter what it cost me. 2, I would make sure Carter learned that actions have consequences. Even if no one else would hold him accountable, I would. Because if I couldn't count on anyone to stand with me, then I'd stand up. Alone. I didn't cry. I didn't beg. I just moved. Silently, deliberately. Every dollar I had, I counted it, scraped it together, pawned my mother's graduation ring, the only thing she left behind. And then I applied for a night shift job at the university library, minimum wage, zero glamour, but it kept the lights on and gave me access to the school's computers. During the day, I sat in class like nothing had happened, nodding, answering questions, smiling faintly when called upon. But at night, I rebuilt, piece by piece, file by file, memory by memory. I searched every inbox for autosaves, every flash drive for notes, every Google Doc revision history. Some nights I didn't sleep, some nights I worked until the sun broke through the library blinds, and in the moments between fatigue and fury, I started noticing things. Carter had always been reckless, but now I paid attention. Receipts from online gambling sites, packages addressed in my name, bank emails for loans I never took. One day, I logged into the university portal and saw something strange. An award-winning essay under my name. Only I didn't write it. I traced the text. It was copied, word for word, from an obscure philosophy blog. And the submission? Attached to my email. Carter had logged into my student account, used my name, my ID. That wasn't just betrayal, that was identity theft. And still, my aunt and uncle doted on him. When he passed a class, they threw him a barbecue. When I got a research approval, they forgot to ask. It didn't make me bitter, it made me sharper. I started collecting screenshots, emails, purchase logs, timestamps. I wasn't just rebuilding a thesis anymore, I was building a case for the truth, a case they'd never see coming. I submitted it. Somehow, against every odds stacked against me, I turned it in. The final research file, complete, formatted, annotated, the same research project that nearly died on my living room floor, now had my name on it again. Only this time, it was stronger. A week later, I received an email that stopped my heart. Congratulations, you've been selected to present at the National Student Research Conference in Denver. I stared at it, reread it, let the tears fall, this time, from relief. I didn't tell anyone, not my aunt, not my uncle, certainly not Carter. I packed my one decent outfit, taped my old sneakers, and got on that flight. And when I stood before a room full of professors, researchers, and students, and presented my findings, they listened, they clapped, they asked questions, they saw me, not as a burden, not as a problem, but as a mind, a future scholar. After the session, someone from a major nonprofit approached me. They handed me a card. We'd love to have you apply for our research fellowship. And just like that, a door I thought had slammed shut, creaked open. I flew home with tired legs, but a lit heart. For once I wasn't surviving, I was becoming. But that feeling didn't last long, because the next day, I got an email from a publishing journal. Hi Natalie, we're excited about your submission. Can you send over your bio and a quick photo for the contributor page? My smile faded. I hadn't submitted anything. I opened the attachment. The title looked familiar, but not because I wrote it, because I'd read it, on a small niche blog 2 months ago, copied, pasted, repackaged under my name, Carter. He'd done it again, used my credentials, my identity, my name, to plagiarize an article and claim it as mine. I checked my university email account. He'd logged in again, submitted it through my school ID, and now my name was attached to a lie. I should have been furious, and I was, but more than that, I was ready, because this time, I wasn't caught off guard. This time, I had evidence, and I had nothing left to lose, so I drafted a reply. Thank you for reaching out. I believe there's been a serious case of identity misuse. Please allow me a moment to clarify. And then I began compiling. All of it. The stolen article, the browser logins, the reused email templates, even screenshots from Carter's open tabs. Careless, arrogant. He thought I wouldn't fight. He thought no one would believe me. But he forgot. I had already survived the worst, and now, I had the power to expose him for exactly who he was. I sent it all, every piece of evidence, to the University Ethics Board, to the editorial team of the journal, to the bank handling the fraudulent loan. No more hesitation, no more giving them chances to change. This time, I wasn't crying in my room. I wasn't hiding in the shadows. I was standing tall, with truth on my side. The Student Advocacy Office helped me connect with legal support from a campus law clinic. They looked over everything: the forged credit forms, the identity theft, the stolen intellectual property. "You have a strong case," the advisor said, so we filed it all. I demanded full financial restitution: the cost of the destroyed laptop, the weeks of missed work, the stolen article, and the forged student credit line, totaling $58,000. The university responded within days. Carter was suspended pending investigation, his student accounts were frozen, his email access revoked, and that was only the beginning. When the letter from the bank arrived, my aunt opened it first. I walked into the living room to find her sitting at the kitchen table, pale and silent. "Is this true?" she asked, voice trembling. "He used your name, took out money, without telling you?" I nodded, calm, certain. She burst into tears. "Natalie, you're tearing this family apart over money." I looked at her. Not with anger, not even with sadness, just truth. "No," I said softly. "Carter did that, when he tore apart everything I built. And you all laughed." She sobbed louder, but I didn't comfort her. Not because I didn't feel, but because, for the first time, I knew I didn't owe her that. My uncle tried next, offered to settle things quietly. "No need to involve the courts," he said. "Let's handle this as a family." But I had learned the hard way. Silence only protected the guilty. So I declined, firm, respectful, but unwavering. A court date was set. Carter claimed mental stress. My aunt said I should have come to them sooner. My uncle tried to say I exaggerated, but I brought everything: the emails, the receipts, the login logs, the article comparison. And I walked into that courtroom not as the poor girl with a broken laptop, but as a woman who had rebuilt everything, on her own. The judge listened carefully, reviewed the facts, and delivered the ruling: full restitution, $58,000, to be paid by Carter and his guardians. As we left the courthouse, I heard my aunt whisper, "She's always been the favorite." And that was the moment I knew they would never see me for who I was, only for what they lost. So I walked away, not with revenge in my heart, but with something deeper, a quiet kind of power, the kind that comes when you finally stop asking for permission to be respected. I wasn't the quiet girl anymore. I was the voice they tried to silence, and couldn't. I left, moved to Boston, accepted a research position at an independent institute that specialized in public policy and data ethics. It wasn't glamorous, but it was mine, and more importantly, no one there saw me as a burden. They didn't talk over me in meetings. They didn't pat my head for trying. They called me something I hadn't heard in a long time: colleague. I worked quietly, hard, built new studies, published under my own name, and for a while, peace replaced pain. Until one day, I received a voicemail. "Hi, this is Ellie Tran. I'm an investigative journalist following leads on academic fraud. Your name came up in connection with a case we're pursuing. Would you be open to sharing your story?" My chest tightened. Ellie sounded calm, professional, not a tabloid chaser, not a scandal monger. I hesitated. Part of me still flinched at the idea of public exposure. Part of me still lived in the quiet. But then I remembered. My silence had protected them long enough. So I called back, and I told her. Everything. Not with bitterness, not with rage, just truth. How Carter broke my laptop, how my family laughed, how I rebuilt from nothing, how he used my name, forged my signature, submitted stolen work under my identity, how the people who raised me tried to convince me I was destroying them, when really I had been holding them up for years. Ellie listened, took notes, asked thoughtful questions, and she wrote it. A piece that didn't make me a victim, but a witness. The article went live 2 weeks later. Family loyalty or family scapegoat? One woman's stand against silence. It exploded online. Professors who had seen my name at the conference shared it. Former classmates messaged me. One of my high school teachers wrote, "We always knew you were the strong one." But what about my family? They went quiet. Carter lost internship offers, got flagged on applications. My aunt's book club rescinded her speaking invite. My uncle's company quietly shelved his promotion. Because now, it wasn't gossip, it was fact. laid out in timelines, in receipts, in legal filings. And suddenly, the story they tried so hard to suppress was being told, word by word, without them. I didn't feel triumph. I felt clarity. I hadn't sought revenge, just sunlight. And truth has a way of growing things, even from ruins. The article went live, and the headline hit like a drumbeat. Silence or stand? A young woman confronts injustice within her own family. It didn't whisper, it roared. Within hours, it started spreading, first among academic circles, then among advocacy groups, then, somehow, everywhere. I watched it happen from my apartment in Boston. No PR team, no announcements. Just truth, moving like wildfire. Emails poured in. Thank you for your courage. I thought I was alone. My sister did the same to me. Now I know I'm not crazy. It wasn't just a story, it was a mirror. And for once, I wasn't staring into it alone. Professors shared it on Twitter. Colleagues forwarded it with quiet support. Even one of my old advisors wrote, "I'm proud to have taught you." But back home, it was a different story. My aunt's social club canceled her upcoming event. Neighbors stopped waving. Her book club never invited her again. My uncle's company, that had once considered him for a board seat, removed his name from the running. No formal statement, just silence. Because reputation, when built on image rather than integrity, crumbles quickly. And Carter? Applications returned, scholarship rejections. One email even said, "Due to recent concerns involving academic dishonesty, we are unable to proceed." He had been blacklisted, not because I yelled, but because the truth was undeniable. He tried to fight it, claimed defamation, threatened to sue, but I had everything: screenshots, court documents, signed emails. He couldn't erase the truth anymore. My family begged me to take it down, to retract, to let it go. But I didn't post it. I didn't leak it. All I did was tell the truth when asked. And now, the silence they once used against me was surrounding them instead. What struck me most wasn't their downfall. It was their disbelief. They had spent so long thinking I'd never speak. They never prepared for what would happen when I did. That's the thing about justice. It doesn't always arrive in gavel slams or prison bars. Sometimes it comes in the form of consequences that echo through the lives of those who never thought they'd be held accountable. I didn't smile at their fall. I didn't dance on their broken pride. I simply exhaled. For the first time in years, I felt light. Because the girl they once silenced was now the voice echoing louder than any of their excuses. Justice wasn't loud. It didn't need to be. It was enough. Because this time, it wasn't them telling the story. It was me. Months passed. I stayed quiet. Not out of fear, but out of peace. The kind of peace that comes when you stop needing permission to exist. Then, one day, I received an email from the logistics team at my institute. "We're finalizing paperwork on the estate acquisition. Thought you'd want to know. It's the old Whitmore property. Beautiful grounds. Used to host a lot of family reunions." My heart stopped. The Whitmore estate. The place where my aunt and uncle had held summer barbecues. Where Carter had once cannonballed into the pool and everyone cheered. I remembered the patio, the long tables, the fairy lights. And I remembered never feeling like I belonged there. Now, it was being repurposed into a center for ethical research retreats, funded in part by a grant I'd helped secure. My name was on the founding documents. My office overlooked the pool. I didn't buy it out of spite. I bought it because it was perfect, secluded, quiet, symbolic. A few weeks later, our office received a booking request, a family reunion, from my aunt. She didn't know who owned it now, didn't realize the contact email would land directly in my inbox. I didn't reply. I forwarded it to my assistant with one line. "Booking subject to approval. Parties with a history of abuse, fraud, or litigation will be respectfully declined." A week later, I stood near the garden as our annual retreat guests arrived. PhDs, advocates, authors, changemakers. That's when I saw the familiar car pull in and stop. My aunt and uncle stepped out, dressed in their best, looking older, and suddenly, smaller. They scanned the grounds, looked toward the house. Then their eyes found me. I was wearing a white blazer, clipboard in hand. My name tag said, "Program Director." My aunt's lips parted. My uncle blinked twice. "Natalie?" I walked toward them, steady, calm. We didn't know. You ran this place. I nodded. You did, I said gently. You just didn't think I ever would. They tried to explain, tried to apologize. We were scared you'd turn the world against Carter. I smiled softly. No, I said. Carter did that himself. I just stopped hiding it. They asked if I'd reconsider, if they could still host their event here. I looked past them, toward the hill where I used to sit alone during reunions, and then I turned back. There's a lovely public park 2 towns over, I said. It's less intimidating. They didn't respond, and they didn't need to, because in that moment, I didn't need to prove anything. The silence, the hesitation in their eyes, that was enough. I wasn't the outcast anymore. I was the gatekeeper. And that was justice. Not loud, not cruel, just final. I didn't need a stage to shout my truth. I didn't need revenge carved in fire. All I needed was to finally stop knocking on doors that were never meant to open for me and build my own gate. And when they came knocking, I didn't slam it shut. I just didn't open it. Sometimes the deepest justice isn't about making someone pay. It's about reclaiming the parts of you they tried to erase. It's about walking away, not in anger, but in peace, and reminding the world and yourself that silence is not weakness. It's just the place where strength grows, before it speaks. If this story touched you, if you've ever been underestimated, overlooked, or silenced, you're not alone. Hit that subscribe button, share this story with someone who needs it, and let us know in the comments. Where are you watching from today? And when did you finally find your voice? Your story matters, and this is just the beginning.